Hello, good morning, and welcome back to Elite Dangerous and another cup of space coffee. I am Noden, your host, as always. So today we are going to be doing a little bit of a tutorial, a little how-to. Ooh, score it. Space coffee making me burpy. Alright, so, yes, we're going to be doing a little bit of a how-to on Discovery. So, I want to do a video on this because when I first started looking into how to do this, I didn't find many resources kind of laying around. And, you know, that's not a huge problem, generally. I mean, usually you can kind of find something that'll get you what you need. But sometimes, you know, it's nice to be able to just cheat the whole system and go, oh, it's all in one place. Convenient. So there's kind of two ideas with Discovery. The big one where a decision that's made early on, and one is how much money you put out in the beginning of your Discovery career, we'll say, as compared to further on. Now, the big thing with Discovery is what you want to do is you want to be finding things that haven't been discovered before, which means, you know, if you have information on everything that has happened, everything that has been discovered before, you're not repeating, you know, stuff that's already been done, so you're not wasting your time doing that. This is probably a good idea, but it's very expensive and not worth it in a financial kind of point of view, so I'd skip it completely. Whenever I go to a new station or something like that, I don't buy all the information from the star charts. I just leave it where it's sitting there. I mean, it looks cheap just sitting there, but I mean, when you start calculating how much, you know, that whole list costs, and you're looking at 3,000 or 4,000, that might be all that you brought in from Discovery on your last haul. So at the moment, certainly Discovery is not the most profitable thing. Like I said in the last video, doing pretty much anything else right now in Elite Dangerous is more profitable than Discovery. But Discovery has its own rewards, and part of it is following hunches and being right or not being right, and trying to just find things. And especially if you're interested in space in general, you can kind of, you know, relate some of that interest back into a game and find things that nobody's found before because you're smarter than they are. So here's, whoop, way too far. So I was just peeking around here, and this is sort of the kind of thing that I'm looking for. I'm looking for a system that has economy none and allegiance none. That means that I have no information on that system whatsoever. It doesn't mean it's never been discovered. It means I have no information on it. If we go into the system, we can see that it's got 2 stars. Most star systems, no matter whether they've been discovered or not, will show you how many stars there are in them. You will also see, if they do have them, you'll see like not debris fields, well, call them asteroid belts anyways. And they'll also have all of the stations that happen to be in system. So, you know, that's a pretty convenient little bit of a trick, so that if you happen to be looking at a star system and you see that there's a star system, a planetary system, you can see that there's a planetary system based on the fact that there's a random station just orbiting out over here somewhere. So you can see this one here, even though, again, no information on it, we got 3 stars to discover. Sort of looks like these 2 would be. Alright, so then we've got, there are so many things that kind of go on here. So you've got these little pairings here. And these give you an idea about what the orbits are like for the stars, or planets for that matter. In this case, it kind of shows us that these 2 orbit each other, and then this one orbits these 2 as a whole. Without going into too many details of how orbits work, that's perfectly fine, that's perfectly normal, and is as seen on TV. So let us head off to, where was it, 106882? Whoa, I did not log that in at all. We're just pushing buttons and not getting where we want to go. So let's go take a look at this place here at HIP 106882. And we will go and do some quick discoveries. Let's get the other side of this station. So we are here in our transit van. You can do discovery on in any craft, the craft that you first come up with, the Sidewinder, I think it's the Sidewinder, works perfectly fine for this sort of thing. You don't need, you know, special tools. Everything you have on your ship already. You don't need to buy anything new. It's all with you. I should say that part of that is a discovery scanner, which we will be using shortly, but before we get to our next system, it's probably a good idea to set it up. So I've got this bound already to a key. It doesn't by default it isn't by default bound to a key. So what you want to do is you want to go over to fire groups. Now, when you first come in, you'll probably have like a laser cannon or something like that, and you'll have this, and it'll be like that'll be deselected, and you'll have the laser cannon kind of selected in that spot. Basically what I'll do is I'll just go through. That means it's on like mouse 1 or trigger 1, and if I hit enter again or spacebar as it is in this case, that'll be on my second trigger or second mouse button. So that brings it up so that it's now in the primary quote-unquote fire group, and it uses my secondary fire mode to activate. So let's just jump into, make a quick jump here, and we'll throw some power to the systems just to speed this along a little bit. That's really useful to have. It is a hard point. It does deploy. It has to be retracted before you can jump into space and do fun things. But if you don't have it bound to a key, you can't use it. So it's very important. And it is also very important to make the distinction between the discovery scanner and your regular sensors. So in a moment here, because we're staring directly at a sun, it will say, oh, we have found a new astronomical object. That is that star directly in front of us. Now, if we recall from looking in system, we happen to know that this system has 2 stars. Let's go to the system map. Has 2 stars, and that they orbit each other. That is fantastic. We have no knowledge of any planets, or if there are planets even in this system at all. So what we will do is we will lock on to the star here. You can see that it's kind of hard to see because it's very bright in the center of that star, but it says unknown. So if we target it, we'll hit the T key. And now our passive scanners, we're not touching anything. It's just sitting there scanning. The closer, it does seem, and I'm not positive on this, but it does seem that the closer it is to the center of your screen, the faster the scanning happens. And there is a minimum distance. You have to be so close to stars and closer to planets and closer to moons in order for your passive scanners to pick that up. Alright, so we've discovered this star. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to push our second trigger here, and we're going to use our discovery scanner. We're going to hold that, and we're going to discover nothing. That is often the case, but we know that there is another star in this system. So all that means is that that star is out of the range of our discovery scanner. You can use the discovery scanner while you're in Super Cruise. It's very useful. Otherwise, this could take just too damn long. So what we are going to do is we're going to fly just a little bit away from that that star, just so we can have a little bit of a better looking around. And I'm actually going to come slightly off of what I think that its plane is. So if we come over here now, let's just slow right down. You can see that because we still have that star selected, this little line that's going horizontally across our screen, that kind of shows us its orbit around something else. And in fact, if we follow that around, and you can see directly in front of us, there's that really bright orange spot exactly on that line. This isn't always the case, but that is so bright and so different than any of the other stars around here, we can probably guess that that might be the other star that we're looking for. So let us head over there and just take a peeky. I'm going to probably cut this out. There's no telling how far that star is away. It could be several minutes of actual flight away. It's not something to be discouraged about, and in fact, you can see that it's still getting slightly larger. And we can do something very quickly before I do leave, just to see whether or not that is an actual distant object, or whether it's just part of the background. And what we'll do is we'll just turn off of course slightly, and if we watch very closely, and this will depend on how far away it is, if it starts to get farther away or like move around in comparison to the objects behind it, it means that it is an actual object in system here and not a distant stellar object. So I'm just trying to see if it moves towards, there's a faint star right there, and it looks like it is moving towards it. That star is quite far away, because it's moving very slowly away. And it will, you know, as we move closer to it, it will move faster away, so it is a decent way of judging how far an object is away and how much longer it's going to take to get there. But I will do a quick cut and let you guys know just how long it took to get there. It shouldn't be more than a couple of minutes, maybe as many. I've seen as many as 6 minutes. I've seen some of these be quite far away, so I will be right back. Alrighty, so let's bring it back here, because we're starting to get closer to this star now. It's been just about 5 minutes now since we started heading towards here, and you can see down over here we're about 70,000 light seconds away, so we're a good couple of clicks away here. And when we can start telling that we're getting close to this thing, because well, you can see it's that one that's sort of in our center there. If I start going up over here, watch how fast it drops down towards that other distant, far more distant star. So we know we're getting there quickly. As we start approaching, I've been kind of using our discovery scanner, just, you know, pushing and holding, just hoping that, you know, something pops. Nothing's popped. That's just the way of discovery. Now, one of the things is this system, because these stars are so far apart, there may be planets around the individual stars, but we won't probably find planets on the outside of the system orbiting this, like, binary system. So, we're getting closer now. You can see it's really starting to get a little bit larger now, and it's got some more definite color, and we see a bit of a haze around there, so we can tell that there are things going on. So there may be planets around this star. Now, I didn't see any as we left the other one, but that doesn't mean that they're not there. Another thing with discovery, when you're heading towards an object and you're not quite sure what's going on or how far away you are even, is that your speed is another really good estimation of what's going on. Obviously, like, we know that when you're getting away from something that's got a large amount of gravity, you start to speed up. But as you start heading back towards something, and there we go, we have now discovered that, so we can lock on. And our scanners will just passively go and scan away at it. But as you're getting closer, your speed will also begin to slow down. So as you're heading out towards this star, for instance, I think it was around the 4-minute mark, we started to slow down again. And so we knew within a shadow of a doubt at that point, you know, we knew that when we were going like this, we could see it move against the background. But, you know, maybe it was a trick of the light or something like that. Our eyes were playing tricks on us. So when we start slowing down, we know for sure that we're heading towards an actual object. Unfortunately, looking around and using our discovery scanner, we're seeing no planets at all around here. And I said I didn't see any when we were around the other star, and that's true. I didn't physically see any, but also the scanners didn't see any. And with this distance, you'd probably have planetary systems that were fairly close to the actual parent star. So I'm going to go ahead and just guess there are no actual planets in this system, and we can head off to the next one and see what we can find there. Woo! Alright, so another star, another day. So we've actually already discovered this star, but we are just going to quickly run our discovery scanner and see if anything pops. 3 new astronomical objects. That means we got stars or planets in near vicinity. So the easiest way to do that, once we have discovered something, is to lock onto it inside here, lock the destination, and then we can just point directly at it and start moving towards it. That way we're also getting the ones that are closest to us. We're wasting the least amount of time, theoretically, doing such things. Now, I don't know if this is a star or a planet, but we are going to do it. So this was the case that I thought would be with that last system, was that if it did have planets or anything orbiting it, it would be fairly close to its independent parent stars. Whoops, let's slow down here a bit. Alright, so we've discovered that now. We can turn off so we don't, collide into it and smash into a million pieces. It's a good idea when you do get close to a planet or something like that to use your Discovery Scanner again in case it's got its own satellites, moons, or what have you. Come on. You can see that we have 2 of the stars that are orbiting fairly close to each other. So there's one there and that one there, which is only 230 light seconds away from us now. So it's actually much closer to its parent object, which is, what, 13? Well, not much closer. But 215 light seconds away from each other, so that's pretty close, really. And the third star, which we were looking at earlier, again, so we know these 2 orbit each other, and then there's a third star that orbits these 2 as a total. It's probably farther out on the horizon, as it were. But we are going to discover these quick planets here, and that star. Now this is an interesting star system. And I would imagine that these planets are probably in fairly unstable orbits. Now that doesn't mean anything for the game, but I mean, in my thinkings in real life, as it were, that these planets would have a hard time because you've got that large star that you'd be generally orbiting, as this seems to be the case. But you'd have this other star there, and that would be having a huge amount of pull on you. I mean, for instance, that star over there is just about as far away from Earth as our star is. So I mean, that's the same amount of gravitational pull, basically, coming from that planet, going to that planet from that star, as you know. But meanwhile, it's got this massive star over here that's still there. So very, very big and interesting is what's going on. So let's just lock onto that. Now, this is a star. Stars can be passively scanned from much farther away, so we don't even have to get that close. Planets, I think you have to be within 40 light seconds? I'm not positive on that one. I'm trying to remember what the numbers were, and that's the number that's popping into my head. But let's do a quick discovery here, see if anything pops. Nothing is going to pop. Alright, so let us head out a little bit, head away, just so we can get a better look at the system as a whole, and just give us a little bit of a better lay of the land. And once we just get a little bit farther away, we'll turn around and we can see, we'll take a look to see if we can spot that third star. And the cool thing is about having a system like this is that we can get to that third star, and that third star could have its own planetary system again. So you have no idea what's out there. There could be just about anything. Oh, that looked promisingly like a planet to me. Let's just see what happens. So you're really kind of just looking for anything that looks strange in the background at the moment, but let's not, like that. That looks strange right there. It looks a little bit more yellow than the rest of these stars around here, so it could be our star, our distant star. The problem is that it's going to be really hard to find out if it is indeed. So we're going to head off this way, and hopefully we'll see that it is moving compared to the stars around it. There's a faint dot kind of to the left of it there, and I'm just trying to see if it moves in conjunction to that. It appears like it's just slowly coming abreast to it, and we'll be able to tell in a moment for sure once it gets like some clear distance in between it and that dot. Alright, I'd say that's definitely our third star. So let's start heading that way, and I'm going to cut again and join you back when we are there. Alright, so we have now transitioned to the big fuzzy dot stage. It has been about 8 minutes. You can see we're at 114,000 light seconds and counting. I'm going to start slowing down here a bit, and we're going to run our D-scanner, our Discovery Scanner. And we have found 2 new objects all the way out here, which means it has a planet or something nearby. So we're just going to quickly give this a nice little passive scan. So actually I was doing some quick math on this trip up here, and I actually realized and was trying to remember how, exactly how far away in light seconds the Earth was from the Sun, and it's actually closer to about 500. So that planet was actually a lot closer to that secondary star than it was to the Earth is to the Sun. So there'd be just a ton, an absolute ton of. And where is this sucker? Over this way. Of gravity being affected upon that star or on either of those stars. So it would be a very, very tricky system. And you can see that's the parent star, the binary system way over there. So even at this distance, it just looks like a spot on the horizon, even though it's a massive star itself, a massive binary star system. And the reason that would be unstable is that you'd have, like, the gravity wells from both of those things interacting on that planet, and it could just be just a very, very, very hellish place to be. It's not. You don't want to go. You don't want to go on a vacation there. We're gonna miss it. Oh, and it's got a moon or something. Ooh, it's got a moon or something. I just, as we were flying past it, I just used the Discovery scanner real quick. When you don't know exactly how far something is away, which, I mean, I could have known, and alright, so we know I've got a bad habit of just, like, flying past things when I'm talking here, so that's what happened. I flew past it. That's just, you know, there's not a lot I can do. And it's got, oh, what was that? What is that? I don't know if that's a second planet, or yes, it looks like it is. It looks like another planet. That's what it looks like. So your Discovery scanner has a limited range. You can upgrade it. There is the intermediate Discovery scanner. I haven't picked one up yet, but one of these days I will. They sell for about 50,000 credits or something like that, if I remember correctly. And that just expands the range. And I don't know how much it expands the range, but it expands the range. So it allows you to see things farther away, meaning you have to do less of this, like, looking on this horizon for anything that looks just slightly out of place. And that's an art form almost, trying to find planets, especially planets that are far away, because you're just kind of looking for dots that are just a little bit too smudgy. Maybe it's two planets that are close together or something, and you're just desperately, I'm going to blow past this again. I'm not paying attention whatsoever. So yeah, you're just kind of looking for things that just look slightly out of place, and that's it. And you're gonna head towards them until you can eliminate them as actual objects. So, like I say, there's no real. I mean, there's a science to it. It's certainly knowing a little bit about how planets and stars and solar and planetaries and star systems kind of work, can kind of help, but at the same time, it's still just a video game. Things aren't going to always make 100% sense, and that's it. So we've done a bit of discovery here, and now would be a good time to go and sell our wares just while we're out and about. So we are going to go back to the galaxy map. We're going to find a place to sell. So we need to find a system that is habited, is a good start. So we're going to look for allegiance and economy. None, that's not a good one to go to. What do we got? None, not a great one to go to. Let's see what her... None. Oh, what's down here? Can we get as far as that? Doesn't seem so. What about this guy? None. There we go. Industrial democracies. Let's click on that guy. 35 million population. Not super huge, but let's just take a look at the system. And it does have a couple of whatchamacallits. What do they call these things? They call them stations that we can go to. Goodness gracious. So here's a good example of, like I was saying before, we've got a binary star system. You can see that there are a couple of debris fields, let's call them asteroid belts for fun, and we've got a couple of stations that are orbiting something, but it hasn't been discovered yet. And this is on a station, on a system that has information on it at all. So again, totally possible that you could discover all kinds of fun things just hanging out in the... that's a big jump. I hope we can make this jump. I am not 100% sure. I'm not 100% convinced. Alright, we'll just close those off. So I just closed our hard points because we'll need to do that before we jump.
Drive charging.
And we can just make this jump. Alright. It's a biggie. 14.6. That's a big jump.
Four, three, two, one. Engage. Main fuel tank low.
Yes, it is, I'm sure. Alright, so we have gotten into the system here, and we could go around and discover some planets and things, fun things like that, but let's just get our stuff sold. So, I'm going to head over towards the Smith colony, and I will see you when we're about to land. Alright, so here we go. Let's get ourselves touched down. So you want to find a station. It doesn't matter what station. I think they all have the cartography places in them. So let's go to Starport Services and take a peek-see. So Universal Cartographers, and this part is a little bit silly. You actually have to scroll all the way down to the bottom, and previously the sell all button wasn't working, but let's just see what happens when we do that. It did work, so it did not work. It did not work at all. So you have to actually manually go through here and confirm all of these. Oops. Make sure you scroll back down to the bottom so you're not just buying information on random systems. It's a bit tedious. But you can see that we were making about 1,600 credits, so not a lot, but again, we didn't discover anything, you know, mind-bogglingly universe expanding or anything like that, and that's why, you know, this is kind of a tough gig. It's a tough job because you're not making a huge amount of credit, but you're out there spending a huge amount of time. I mean, that last one, how long was that? It was like 7 or 8. I think it was like just about 8 minutes that we were flying in between those two systems. I meant to take a look. I'd started an alarm thing, but I forgot to look at it. So, like I say, not a huge amount of money, but again, not a lot of things did we discover in that one. Meanwhile, we're in a system that's got 3 stations in it. We could just literally leave this station, fly around for like 10 minutes, and probably make 1,600 credits just discovering the planets that are in a system that already has stations. So there's lots of really kind of weird quirks about it. It is kind of complicated. Really, you are kind of just looking for smudges in the distance, and that's kind of difficult. You don't know really what you're looking at until you start heading towards it, and that's it. There's a lot of hunches you got to play in this game, and that's why Discovery is kind of fun, because you get to play on those hunches, and either you're right, hopefully you're right, or you're wrong, and you've just wasted a bunch of time doing nothing. So, like I say, not gonna make a fortune doing it, but it's a little bit different. And if you're interested in just being out here on the fringes, it's not a bad way to go. So I will leave it off here, and we will talk next time that we are in, I don't know, one of these. I will see you for the next cup of space coffee one way or another, and until that time, ciao, I love you. Good night.